So now we're looking at your 9x9. Once again, this was played before we played, which means you don't have the knowledge that you have now, right? You don't have that idea of like using your stones to fight. You don't have the idea of keeping your opponents small and separate. So I expect the same problems as our game, and I expect them to change by next week. So let's see what happened here. First, you were a focused mindset on defending, but when we have a white stone between two black strong stones, our focus should be on fighting, right? Putting pressure on the stone and making it very uncomfortable. So we can see that if we stay on the attack, right, we're also defending our territory, and we're making more by attacking this, right? If he was to come under or play something like this, you can see that we can stay on top of him and make him very small, and this would really stink for white. This would be amazing for black if you can seal white in, white only making maybe 3, 4, 5 points, and black's making 30, 40, 50, 100, so ideally when somebody's between your stones, whether it's handicap or a regular game, if you have the Sanrense set up, you should be considering picking them, which puts the most pressure on them. Do you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very easy to see that white's gonna have to run away to make life. And as he does, you're gonna make points on both sides, which is the goal of attacking. Which is the goal of handicap games, which is to teach you how to fight, how to attack. Same here. You played once again defensively, but the kick would just be as good here as it was here. So between these moves, so you have A and B. Why do you think that A would be more effective against these stones than B?
Uh, I think that if white gets into the corner, they have kind of a guaranteed life.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They can go two ways with that. They can either just take the corner directly, which they have to give up kind of these stones or the advantage of these stones, but they can make a living shape in the corner and take your corner from you. Or white could play what he did in the game, which is effectively trying to make life in the corner. And then if white was to, let's say, make a base, attach, or do anything like this, it would give white significantly more eye space. So by playing B, it allowed white to get a good position to make a base. In handicap games, and in regular games, of course, all this translates to regular games. We want to strip our opponent from making a base. We want to make it very difficult for them to live, right? And if we do that, then it's going to be a problem for white. White still can slide under here, and it'll be able to connect to its stones. But this is a pretty miserable life, if you ask me. It's only making 1 point at a time. And so, even here, of course, once again, we're ahead of the race, so we can hit the head of two stones. And once again, we can just make white really small and sad and insignificant, right? So, it's always sticking to that strategy of keeping white small. Putting pressure on them by depriving them of an easy life. Sounds kind of harsh. If you were doing this in real life, you'd be a dictator, right? Or somebody really mean, depriving people
Right.
of good life. But in Go, this is the point, right? This is warfare. Um, so I hope you see now why this would be much more effective compared to this one.
Yes.
So now this is a move that I didn't really learn. I saw it in the fundamentals book when I was like 7 or 6Q, but I didn't really learn how to use this move effectively until I was like 3Q or so. But this is a very good move against this fourth line enclosure, right? This star point enclosure. If you normally we approach this way, is that right, Jason?
Right.
But in this case, because black already has the extra stone, normally the stone isn't here when we approach. But because black has this extra stone, can you guess the next move black should do?
Maybe R16.
R16 is pretty good. More effectively would be the kick, right? Just like with this move and this move.
Oh, right,
This
right.
kick is beautiful because you already have the extra stone. And so now you're a turn ahead, which means you even get one more move against these stones, making them really hard to live. And so, yeah, this is essentially why white will not play here. So when we're in the situation where black already has this, we shouldn't play this because we'll just get boned, right? We'll just get messed up. So then what we learn is this move and this move, right? This move is the one that was played in the game, so this is the one I'll go over. Essentially, it's asking for black to play something, right? It's asking for black to play out here or this, right? If black cares about the corner, black will play this, and then white can expand out really far to make a sort of base. If black plays for the outside, we can see that black is covering white, right? And so white can't jump into the middle. White lives in this corner, but black ended up getting a very solid outside. So now the choice or the question becomes, what do you think would be better, A or B for black right now?
Well, I mean, if we're super aggressive, we think that, this movie is crazy and doesn't deserve to live, then I would, I don't know. I mean, I think my thought in playing B was that I wanted to deny it life,
Did you?
and I
Okay,
didn't
here.
see how it could live outside the corner.
Okay.
But now that you've shown me, I think that giving it the corner seems to be the better points option.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, normally in non-handicap games, we don't have this. Sometimes we don't even have these, right?
Right,
And so sometimes, I mean, in this case, I would think the corner is better for black, right? Um, so this is an effective choice. But in handicap games, we have all this extra power, right? We have all this extra stuff. And so now we can very deliberately make lots of points in the center. So it would have been a better choice, I think, to play on the outside here. This is the move that I was taught in the fundamentals book. But now that I've been reading a lot of AI books, I believe this is the move that AI chooses now. I can't tell you why. I'm not sure. It looks like it kind of leads to the same thing to me, but um, so it's up to you. This way to me gives white an option to come out, right? So, but this way gives no option for white to come out because you're always ahead of him.
right.
So, this was the old, what I learned from Yulin Yang, the professional way to play. But now I keep seeing this move, so I don't know what to tell you. But your assessment of playing A and then allowing white to live in the corner is much better for black on this outside, right? And so, very good
Right.
assessment. But without you knowing this, still B is still a good move because even if white jumps out here, you can essentially once again make him very uncomfortable, right? Like as you can see, you can do what we talked about, which is to make white small and uncomfortable. So either way, result is good for you because it's a handicap game. But I just wanted to show you the both choices, right? So I'm not saying either is wrong. I'm just saying you have options in this case. And this is a new move for you. And I don't expect you to memorize it or master it from this one time me telling you, but that's why we're recording it if you ever want to come back to it. So this was great. I mean, this is exactly what happened, and this was a really good move. I even marked it as a great move, good move. Essentially, you are pressuring these stones, making sure they can't expand anymore, right? And they only have one way to go, which is fine with you because you can build points while they go in this direction. So this was great. I think this was fine. And this helps you protect the corner, so this is fine. It also helps you build this a little bit. And this move was very soft and a little strange to me. Um, Maybe, well, when I look here, this stone is in kind of peril. Do you see how white's already like kind of surrounding it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, what I would do, and this looks a little strange too, I bet. But what this does is it helps you, one, start to make a little bit of a base. Two, it actually sets up the broken Knights move. Did you know that all Knights moves can be cut?
Yes.
They can be cut, but they rely heavily on the ladder if it's going to work. You can cut it, but then if the ladder doesn't work, then you'll get killed. So this move helps you build a base and sets up the ladder. If white doesn't realize that and like plays something like this, then now once you cut here, now the if he was to try and kill you, you can see that your stone is safe.
Right.
Same with if you did this ugly cut, but same principle applies. You're safe on both sides, and so this sets up a really nice cut for this knight's move. So something you can learn from this is every knight's move can be cut, usually across the hips here. You usually want to avoid the diagonals and cut across the hip because now you have a nice iron pillar versus two diagonals, right? This is usually bad. But it all depends on the surrounding. And my point was that I wanted to teach you that all knight's moves can be cut. So this is a really nice setup to do so. And if he protects the knight's move, right? If he does something to protect it, then you get the next move, right? And so this would be good for you. But this move looked a little too soft. Were you trying to cut these two apart?
I was trying to threaten to do a lot of things, and I think I just kind of, failed. I was threatening to connect to the weak stone. I was threatening to cut the two, and then all my plans just didn't go anywhere because it was too weak.
Yeah, yeah. Is soft, right? Soft or
So,
so
yeah.
what some people call when you try and make a multi-purpose move and neither of it works, they call this wishy-washy. I've heard that term before. So it's like a wishy-washy move. It's trying to do too much and it's failing at all of it. So yeah, this move didn't work. Same with this one. It was kind of giving white too much here. So you could have tried for this. And then it has the infamous shape, right? Here's the infamous shape that we always talk about. So now white
Right.
has a lot of problems. And even if you have to sacrifice this, right? Even if this dies,
Hmm.
it looks like white would have to come back and kill this or extend, and then you end up getting a nice driving spike. This is called a driving spike because it's cutting through his territory and using a sacrifice. So this would have been a nice move to find um, because it makes this beautiful, infamous cutting shape. But this one, it was a little soft. It does put pressure on white, but it puts pressure on white, which helps it solidify this territory, which is bad for you, right? So this is a bad move.
Yeah.
This was actually a good attempt. I would have cut here now for sure because white's weak here and here. So maybe you could actually come back and take these stones. Maybe something like this would have been really nice. Um, so here, once again, we have the infamous shape, the one that I started calling the infamous shape because we ran into it so many times in our first lesson, right? But yeah,
Okay.
so here's the cut. Instead, you played here, so your focus was really off. I think this shows. I mean, maybe you were attempting to break the tiger's mouth and come in here, but to me, this kind of shows sometimes you lose focus on the current move, right? Like this was the current move, and so this would be a really good shape to attack it. Um, but this was far from the current move. Maybe not far, like it's a diagonal, but I don't know. It just feels like it helped white get stronger, and now this cut is a lot more insignificant
I see.
because this is strong, right? So now it only has one weak thing to worry about. Whereas when you cut here now, it has two weak things to worry about, because if it protects this side, well, now you can just come out and then you're perfectly safe. So it has to protect this stone, right, in some manner. And then this allows you to strengthen your stone, which weakens this one. So this creates a cross cut that has two weaknesses for white. This now just helps white fix, and now this cross cut only has one weakness for white. So let's see. This move could be split really easily, which is something we covered a lot in our last review. So just in one move, white can kind of split you apart and creates all these weaknesses. And he gets to use this sacrifice beautifully to put a big spike in your stuff, right? And so for me, this would have been nicer. Essentially, it kind of ends up very similar to what happens in the game, but you are able to handle what happens much better because now he has a big weakness here, right? So does he protect? Because then you can protect your weaknesses. If he comes through, he's gonna get killed. So the idea of not allowing yourself to be split easily comes into play again. Like I said, we covered this very extensively in our last review. Same here. This was the same concept. Don't make moves that can be split easily, right? Because now you have all these weaknesses everywhere. Lots of weaknesses.
So what would you have done instead there?
You can just play here. 3 stones is much stronger than 2 stones. So let me show you an example of what I'm talking about. So what if I think... So first I would do this. And now once you Tanuki, so this once again we talked about leaving stones with 2 liberties, right? Very manipulative, very bad.
Right.
So now it leads to this amazing stream of Ataris, right? So Atari, 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 kill. All these weaknesses opened up a devastating disaster that could have happened for you. And so we see time and time again that if we allow our opponent to split, it creates 2 weaknesses. And yeah, it takes a lot of prep work to open up these wounds, but they're still wounds, right, that need to be healed. And so if you have to spend a turn to heal them, then you've lost Sente and wasted your turn, and now white takes a big advantage, right? So wherever white wants to play next. Does this make sense?
Yes, I'm just writing it down.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think we went over this like 10 times in the last review, so it's good to see that it constantly is being proven correct, this fundamental of not allowing yourself to get split easy, right? It's just more and more proof keeps piling on, so I think this habit's going to be broken very quickly, which is good. I mean, that's the goal, right? To break your bad habits. But yeah, so this was pretty devastating. Same with this, right? Like, this is very similar to when you got hit, right, on the head. And so you should play here, right, as black. You could get away with this, which is even better than this one. But I would play this one for the Sente, because if we play this, then we get, well, I guess it's still, you can still get Sente. Alright, so I just would have played this move. That's mainly it for that. I'll move on. So eventually you did fix. So I think you spotted like how all these weaknesses could have killed you. So you did a sort of fix. But by having to come back, once again, it allows white to get the next move, which you should always feel bad if white is able to always get sente, because that means that they get to dictate the game. They get to do whatever they want. We don't want white to do what they want ever, right? We want to force white into bad positions and things they don't want to do. So, all right. So, I don't think I have to explain this one.
Well, so I'm so I am. I mean, it's an empty triangle, but so you think I should have done K18?
Yeah, so if when you play this, it allows white to just keep moving forward, right? And so this is really bad for black. It looks silly. You lost a lot of ground, and you have terrible shape, and so this is very inefficient. If you were to play this, yes, it can be manipulated with the Satari, and
And
yes,
that's what I was concerned about.
and yes, you're put in the farmer's shape. But what do we have here?
Two full triangles.
Yes, so that means this is a great shape. There's a big
Hmm.
difference between making a farmer's hat that is an empty triangle versus two full triangles. This is how many weaknesses are here, right?
Right.
So, and
Two.
if we reverse engineer this and it was black's turn, where would you go as black?
The L17.
Yes, you would split the weakness, right? This is what we've talked about time and 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 time again, right? Is cutting our opponents, splitting them apart, right? And so if this was the case, you would 100% should go here, right? Because now it creates two weaknesses, which essentially this is what this is, right? So yeah, we had to reverse engineer it. We had to put it in a backwards spin, but the shape and ideas are still the same. So if you played this, white essentially is now split apart. If white chooses this, you get to kill this. If white chooses this, you get to Atari this and then kill these three. So you're in a really great position. And it's
Hmm.
because you have two filled triangles and he has two weaknesses. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And not only that, but it just hard stops white, right? Like if white can't play here anymore. But when you played this move, it's very clear that white can play here, fix its weakness, because now he can kill you if you try and cut him. So white is way stronger and in a better position, and black looks silly and has a weakness here that has to fill in. So white even gets sente. So I can't overstate enough how bad the empty triangle usually is. This is the only time the empty triangle is good is when it forces a cut. When we find that position, I'll let you know. But for now, just understand how bad this shape is and why it's silly, and feel good about making this tiger's mouth, even if it leads to the farmer's hat. As long as you have two full triangles, you're doing much better than what they are, because I showed you already with the reverse engineering, right? So.
Got it.
Yeah, okay. This one I'm doing a lot faster. One, you made just less mistakes in this game, and two, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about we've kind of already covered. So that's why, like I was saying, the more we review together, the more faster these reviews become, because a lot of it's just repeating itself until we break the habit. Once again, here's the infamous shape. This one might have been harder to see, because essentially when you do this, white's going to be able to kill something. But the difference is you get these nice free moves. If white plays like this, right, you have all these free moves that keep you well connected, which is nice. But with this move, white just gets to make a full triangle or $1,000 turn, whichever you want to call the shape. And now you're just split apart. Do you remember the Romeo Juliet split we talked about?
Yes.
It doesn't come up often when we're reviewing because I don't see it happen a lot now, but in this case it has. So this is a broken knights move. It was split apart completely. Now Romeo and Juliet will never be together again, and this corner is significantly weaker because of it. So it's much better to give up the one stone and stay connected with your friends than it is to allow yourself to be split into two parts.
Okay.
Same with this empty triangle. It's just a bad shape. So instead, when we play here, this puts lots of pressure on this because how many liberties does this white stone have?
Week 2.
you answered. You answered what I really wanted to hear. But yes, so it has two liberties, so it's very weak, and so now, whatever it tries to do, if it does something else, you can really kind of destroy it, right? You can manipulate it. Same here. If it plays somewhere else, you can manipulate it into bad shape, empty triangle, right? So this would have been much more effective than this one. So once again, it shows how silly the empty triangle is and how we should avoid it.
I was worried about those F-18 stones sitting by their lonesome with that cut point.
If it does, we should we should be able to read three moves ahead. So this is something we should practice using the Tetsuji book, right? We should always read ahead. So looking at it, yes, they look in danger, but in reality, there's no danger, right? This is just a ladder.
Okay.
And if he plays this way, you Atari and then you fix. And once again, if he Ataris, then he's just dead. So this is 1, 2, 3 reading. It's this is I think you when you I know that you can read three moves. At least I hope. That's right, Jason. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is more of laziness than anything, right? Because
Yeah.
you should have been able to read that these two stones aren't in danger. So that's my point. So you just have to become more disciplined yourself, right? You have to force yourself to read it out and not just play by scared instinct. If you play by scared instinct, you're gonna make bad shape. You're gonna put yourself in efficient places. You're in Gote now, so white gets the next best move, right? White can do whatever white wants to do. And so this is bad, right? But if we play this, white can't do what white wants to do because now he's gonna get killed. So um, there's a big difference, big difference from
Gotcha.
reading and not reading, right? And so we have to discipline ourselves to always read close quarter combat fights. Always read close quarter fights. I don't expect you to read. I don't know. This is a bad example, but big moves. But anyway, when we're touching each other, you should always be make sure that you're reading. And that is it, Jason. I think you already remember the two fundamentals for handicap games. I had you repeat it off the recording, but yeah, essentially, handicap games are you want to constantly uh, use your stones for fighting and attacking, and you constantly want to keep your opponent small and uncomfortable. And there was many examples of that in this game. Um, so that's mainly it. I mean, we've done a good hour and 40 minutes lesson here. I'm sure your brain needs a break.
Pretty soon, yeah. Yeah.
So I think we're good here unless you have any other questions. I'm gonna end the recording now.